QuickBooks versus Xero. What's the best accounting software for your rental portfolio? Here's the answer. It's Xero. Xero allows you to do class tracking and category tracking on its first tier plan. QuickBooks, on the other hand, reserves that for its third tier plan, so you can get what you need to get done in Xero for a fraction of the cost. That's it. You can quit watching the video now, or hang tight. And real quick, if you're thinking QuickBooks has been around forever, my CPA uses it, it's the gold standard, everything else is just a watered down version of it, and it's going to be a pain to switch, don't worry, I have those exact same thoughts and I go through them in this video, so hang tight and watch it till the end. Before I talk about Xero, I did want to address one question, because there are a lot of different accounting softwares out there that you can use, and why am I narrowing it down to QuickBooks and Xero? So I have a list of about 7 things that I think every rental investor should care about when they're talking about an accounting software. Number 1, the software needs to be robust and something that can grow with you, because obviously you can use something like a spreadsheet, or there's a lot of simple options, but once you get into more complicated things, those ones easily become not a good solution. Number 2, cloud-based. So, a lot of people say just use QuickBooks Desktop. In 2023, you probably could have said this 5 years ago, but you need something that's cloud-based for lots of reasons. It's going to make your life much easier for dealing with your CPA, much easier for dealing with somebody else if you ever want to not be the person doing the actual accounting, and the list goes on with backing up stuff. So cloud-based is key. Number 3, double entry accounting. That is a simple term just to say that the software meets the industry standard. Double entry accounting means for every thing you have one debit and one credit. It just allows for checks and balances. It reduces errors in your work. Stessa is a great software, but unfortunately that's one thing that software doesn't have. Creative financing, that's another thing. So if you're ever going to do private money loans or hard money loans or portfolio loans, and you want to be able to track those in your accounting software and the interest, some softwares don't allow you to do that. And a good example, again, unfortunately, is Stessa. It's something I know they're working on, but it's, again, one of those things that you might not have to worry about it now, but if you want a software that can grow with you. The ability to do accrual accounting. So there's cash accounting and accrual accounting, and they're just 2 different types of accounting. Most people will be doing things on the cash basis, but there are some instances, depending on how you run your business, that you might need to do accrual accounting. And some softwares don't allow you to do that at all. So affordability is something I talked about between Xero and QuickBooks, but in general, that ruled out a lot of different softwares. So Sage 50 is another popular software, and that's one that, unfortunately, for a smaller landlord, if you only have like 10 units or so, it might not make sense to pay that much for an accounting software. Also, a lot of the property management tools like Buildium and Appfolio have built-in property management tools as well. Built-in accounting tools, but again, it might not make sense, to pay all that for a software. All right, and lastly, class and category tracking. That allows you to track your expenses per property, which you need to do to file your taxes. And again, not all softwares do that. FreshBooks, again, is a great software. I heard a lot of good things about it, but it has limitations in there. Those are the reasons why I ruled out a lot of softwares I know a lot of people use, and why I zeroed it down to QuickBooks and Xero. Those are both robust softwares. They allow you to do everything you need to do for accounting. They can grow with you. They do double entry accounting. They allow for complex accounting. They can do accrual accounting. They can just do everything. I know the first question I had when somebody first brought up Xero to me is, how come I've never heard of it? And that's a good question. The short answer is it's actually based out of New Zealand. But once you leave the US and you look at an international market, Xero is wildly popular. As far as the backstory about both companies, QuickBooks has been around since the early 80s, and Xero has been around since early 2000s. QuickBooks was only a desktop version until, again, the early 2000s when QuickBooks Online started. One cool thing about Xero, it has actually been an online platform from the start. So it only has one product versus QuickBooks has a couple products they're trying to put together. For a quick reference, as of this recording, QuickBooks Online has about 5 million users. QuickBooks Desktop has about 3 million users, and Xero has about 3.5 million users, and that's all worldwide. This is actually a pretty powerful visual as well. Again, they started in 2006, so they were nobody, and this is 2010, and as we're going over to 2022, 3.5 million users. So they have had wild growth, and what I anticipate is this is going to just get more and more popular as people discover it here in the United States. Let's take a quick deeper dive here. This is a study that was done in 2020 looking at accounting platforms by region. So if we go down here and we see the United States, lower left here, you can see QuickBooks is the clear winner. QuickBooks Online, Self-Employed, and Desktop, they make up a huge chunk. Xero is still here, 4% as a standalone software. In this other 20%, you're seeing the other 30 accounting softwares that exist are all clumped in that 20%. You go over to New Zealand and Australia, obviously Xero is the winner because it's founded out of New Zealand and nobody uses QuickBooks. An interesting thing is, so looking at the UK, which is neutral on this, you'll see that Xero and QuickBooks are pretty even, so maybe 29% versus 25%. So it's something that's widely used, and that's sort of the point of this illustration. Let's get to it. QuickBooks versus Xero. The 3 reasons I use Xero over QuickBooks: number 1, it's cheaper. Number 2, it has better integrations. And number 3, for what I need to do in rental real estate, it's just as capable as QuickBooks. All right, let's talk pricing. This is QuickBooks pricing for QuickBooks Online. And like I mentioned earlier, for real estate, we need to track our expenses per property, per the IRS. So we need some way to track per property. With QuickBooks, you do that through class tracking. And unfortunately, the only 2 plans that have class tracking are the Plus and the Advanced plan. So we're stuck over here. Yes, QuickBooks does have a workaround some people use where they set up their properties or tenants as customers and track them that way. It becomes a nightmare once you start diving into the reporting and as you get more properties. So fortunately, we're limited to the Plus plan. They have this $42.50 pricing, and this is a promo for 3 months. After the 3 months, it goes to the full price of $85, and this price is just going up and up as the years go up. There are some promos you can get where it's like 30% off this for like a year. That makes it like $60, but still eventually you're more or less going to be faced with the full $85 price. Going over to Xero, again, ignore these prices because these are their intro, 3-month intro. So the real prices are $13, $37, and $70. Again, the magic that happens here is Xero includes class/category tracking in their first tier plan. So for the $13 plan, you can get that category tracking to track your expenses per property. And that is huge. When you really look at some of these things, some of the limitations here are about sending quotes and sending invoices and bills. That isn't very relevant to rental real estate. So yes, your tenants pay you every month, but you're not really, if you have a smaller portfolio, again, you're not really invoicing people. You're not really sending invoices to contractors. They will invoice you, which is different, but you're generally speaking not sending invoices. And, if you don't have employees, again, this plan right here is allowing you to do everything that you need to do for rental real estate at $13 versus $85. No promotions, nothing. That's huge. Integrations. That's another reason that I like Xero better. I mentioned this earlier, but Xero started online and has only been online. QuickBooks started as desktop, then they went online, now they maintain both of them. So Xero does have more integrations across the board than Xero, but particularly for me, when I'm using things like importing receipts and emailing receipts, the Xero platform just works better for me in the things that I need to do. So that's one thing, using both of them, that I like Xero better for. Is Xero as capable as QuickBooks for rental real estate accounting? The answer is yes. I touched on this before, but double entry accounting, the ability to reconcile bank accounts, make journal entries, do accrual accounting if you need to, have a real chart of accounts, make a balance sheet, do profit and loss statements, separate those by class, look at comparisons of one year versus another. All the stuff a real accounting software should be able to do, Xero can do that. So let's dive in and let's take a look and see what Xero actually looks like on the inside. When you first load up Xero, this is what the dashboard looks like. It has your different accounts here. If they need any attention, it'll tell you here. So let's dive in. So this looks like I need to reconcile some items here. This is what the reconciling page looks like. The ones in green, it's found matches for. Yeah, let's go through this manually. So this is what came over from my banking statement. It tells, what you spent. So this is actually Stessa because I was testing it out. So let's go here and I'm going to type Stessa. I've never had them in here, so they don't come up. So I have to hit new contact. If I have used them, like it was like Home Depot, it would came up already. We'll go here. This is a due and subscription, and I could write a description if I wanted to here. I could say testing out accounting software. Alternatively, if you wanted to have some notes, maybe discussions with you and your CPA or you and your bookkeeper, you could write stuff there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK to that one. Looking up here, Home Depot. So this is one where much like QuickBooks, once you do stuff over, it sort of knows what you're doing. So it has found out that this is Home Depot. I've already classified it as Home Depot before. I classified it as repairs and maintenance before, so it pops that in there. What I do need to add is a class. Again, this is tracking it by property. I know this one is attached to South Street, so I could hit that, and if I could write a note here if I wanted to, but I'll go ahead and hit OK. And you can create rules. The software's smart to know what you did before and come up with things. And again, that's QuickBooks does that too, but that's one of the things that, a real accounting software you want it to do. Going into reporting, I think that is the big reason that you want a good accounting software, to be able to see what your business is doing at any time compared to the last time. If you're not looking at this, I would argue that you're not running a business. So let's go into the profit and loss statement. We all need that for our taxes. So we'll click in here and do P&L by class. And this will allow me to look at whatever date range I want for my profit and loss by class. The classes are different properties up here. This is the aggregate, and you can see what you got going on, and this is what you would need to give to your accountant. You can, again, one of the things that I like is you can compare this versus, let's do year-to-date comparison. So now this will look at this year, so 2023, what's happening 2023 year to date versus what happened in the previous year to date. So again, this is the type of stuff you expect any good software to be able to do, and what's so important about being able to do this and keep up with it. This is the chart of accounts section, and it's a real chart of accounts. Some accounting softwares, again, don't have a full real chart of accounts. This is something that you expect in any software. You can see your assets, you can track depreciation, see what your liabilities are, post against them. This ultimately helps you create a balance sheet, and that again is required for any partnership. When you file a tax return, goes over assets and liabilities. This one is not really up to date, but here's an example of what it could look like. My CPA uses QuickBooks, so can I use a different accounting software? This was a big question I had when I first moved over to Xero. So I talked to my CPA. I also talked to about a dozen other CPAs, and this is the consensus that I got from everybody. One, CPAs hate doing bookkeeping. Their goal is not to go in your books and mess with things, and if they do, they're going to charge you their rate. What a CPA wants is to be able to generate the reports that they need to in order to plug those things into your taxes. So if your accounting software cannot generate the reports that they need, balance sheets if you're in a partnership, profit and losses by class, and certain other things. If your accounting software cannot generate those reports, they're not happy. If your accounting software can generate those reports, they're happy. Another cool thing about Xero is the way it's set up. It's very easy if you know how to use QuickBooks to move over to Xero. It's set up with the debits and credits and the chart of accounts and the tracking, and it's very similar. So if you are talking to your accountant, they'll be able to navigate that space because of the similarity between the two. Xero has made it pretty easy to move from QuickBooks over to the Xero platform. You can port your data over and it'll pull over all your chart of accounts and your balances and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have an example live I can show you about going from QuickBooks to Xero, but it's something that's free. It's done through one of their partners called Jet Convert. You pretty much go on there, download the right version of your backup file, throw it in there, wait a little bit of time, and it will pop everything over. Does a pretty good job popping stuff over. It needs a little bit of cleanup, but it's a pretty easy process. So that's it. In closing, Xero allows you to do what QuickBooks can do at a fraction of the cost, about 1/6 of the cost. So I like running an efficient business and I love saving money. And when I could save money and not sacrifice quality, even better. So that's why I'm using it as my accounting software and why I'd recommend at least checking it out and see if it fits you.